You can see it.
Uh-huh.
All right. First, hi, how are you? How have you been?
Good, good, good. Just trying to get through this list of the sea of people I'm communicating with.
I get it. I get it. And after we go through this, I'm gonna like give you some pointers just to kind of clean that up and shift gears again. Because I see things are getting better. Like you're getting busier. That's great. Congratulations on that.
Thanks.
Um, so now we gonna enhance who you're working with. Okay, so when I'm explaining this contract, I honestly rarely go detail line for line. All I'm covering are the things that I did. So just to cover more ground, when I send it, however I'm telling them I send it, whether it be voice or text or something, I let them know, all right, I sent it, and here are the terms I plugged in there. I put the purchase price of this much escrow due in this many days. Here are the escrow. You know what I'm saying? Like I give them the points. So if they want you to go through it again, you're just gonna call out what you did. These fill in the blank points. You see them? You see how they just kind of stand out?
Yes.
You so I explained to them all this other stuff, all these other like solid black. This was written by the Florida bar. So I can answer your questions to the best of my abilities, but if you want a full-on legal interpretation of it, you would have to start to your attorney and have them explain it to you and come back. You'd only have to do it once because this is going to be the same verbiage on every contract, but my license doesn't allow me to interpretate this line for line for you. All I could do is just clarify what I plugged in. All right.
Yeah.
So when you're reiterating, you're just going to point out, here's your name. I just may want to make sure I spelled your name right. And right here is where you'll see the property address, just to make sure we're putting a contract on the right property. Because sometimes they'll say, oh yeah, put the contract on the third one we saw. And then you'll just get it mixed up, or maybe they got it mixed up. And they'll just go through the whole thing and you get to inspection and like, this isn't the house. This never happened to me, but this is how you prevent it. You just say,
Yeah.
here's the address. Just want to make sure this is the right house, right? It's going to say the county, the legal description. That's just to match on tax roll. You don't really have to worry about them memorizing that or knowing it. Right here is where you'll confirm the purchase price. Just wanted to make sure you wanted to go in at 195, right? Here is our escrow deposit. So this means we're going to put $5,000 up within 3 days of them accepting the offer. If they don't accept the offer, we don't put this money up. Don't worry, because you still have your inspection period. And if you cancel the contract during your inspection period and you've already made this deposit, you would be able to get it back. And
Okay.
after that, once we're locked into the contract, this money can't move, meaning no one can just come on and say, hey, they owe me this money and take it. For it to move, both you, buyer, and the seller have to sign off agreeing to either give it back to you or give it to the seller because we, violated or breached the contract or something like that. I'm here to make sure that doesn't happen. But just so you're comfortable and rest assured, the money cannot move without both signatures or a court order. All right.
Okay.
This escrow agent, you're gonna explain this is the company who's gonna hold that $5,000 escrow deposit. They're also more than likely gonna be the company doing the closing. So if you ever have any questions on the closing itself, or the title or title policy or the liens or anything, this company is going to be the one that's going to be handling that for us. And they just want everyone to know who that company is. And, if you need to reach them, here's their information. The email, I usually just put the email of the actual person that's going to be receiving the file. So once this contract is fully executed, this email is where you're going to send it to once we have full on execution, because they're going to need a copy of the contract before they will receive the escrow deposit.
Okay.
And
Perfect.
then once you give them escrow, they're going to give you an escrow letter. It's like a receipt saying, we have this much money on behalf of this buyer. And you send that back to the seller and your buyer to show, here's the proof that they got it.
Okay.
All right. So right here, remember, this is the old contract that we corrected. So this is saying financing expressed as a dollar amount or percentage. This is saying this is how much you're financing. So remember, we updated this to say 80%.
Yes.
So whatever they're putting down, you subtract it from 100 and that number goes here. So if she's putting 20% down, it's going to say 80% here. And this is going to adjust from this 5,000 minus 80%. But it's
Mhm.
important to note that this is not the exact number they're going to need to bring the closing to be done. There's still going to be other little costs, like the closing costs that are going to be added onto here, like the taxes, if they have the association to pay off, their title insurance. You're not going to have to memorize all of this, but just let them know this is not the exact number. For a more accurate number, they could either ask their lender or the title company could give them an estimate on their closing costs.
Okay.
A rule of thumb, usually the seller's closing costs are about 2%. The buyer's closing costs are about probably the same 2%, but maybe 1.5. But just usually I just like to tell them about 2% just so they're comfortable and they have a little more than they need.
Okay.
Time for acceptance. This date right here is just this is how long this contract is active for. If they don't sign off on it by this date, this contract's expired. This protects you because you don't want to write this and send it. They don't hear it back, and then something happens in 3 months from now. They decide, you know what? Let's just take that offer, and they sign off on it, and you wouldn't know about that. So you wouldn't want to have to be bound to a contract that you moved on from. So if by this date they don't accept it, this contract is null and void. You are still able to buy that property. It's just if they want to take it after this date, you would have to say, yeah, I still want it.
Okay. So
do you have a question on that? Go ahead.
Yeah. So I was just, what would be would it be 3 days, 5 days?
Yeah. So you also don't want to put too much time because then the seller says, oh, well, we got a week. Let's wait to see if we get something better.
Yeah.
If the listing says we're going to pick an offer on this date, then that's how much time you want to put. Other than that, I would do what you've been doing, usually around 3 or 4 days. There's no rules. It's just kind of whatever you feel.
Okay.
Less is always best because it's more aggressive, but you don't want to do like 1 day and then they got a day to choose and then it expires.
Okay.
All right. Right here, the closing date. This is just the date we're expected to close. If the lender or title company needs more time, we'd have to draft an extension to extend it. The or before means if everyone's done early and you're ready, we would be allowed to close before that date. All right. So then you see, I just kind of moved down to the next thing we did. Right here, I checked off this box just to show we cannot assign this contract because we're not looking to flip this property. More often than not, if they have a FHA loan, they won't allow them to assign the contract anyway. This is basically like you're going to sell this contract to someone else for a higher price. That's not why we're here. This where it says financing in bold, that box that I checked off, this is your finance contingency. This basically says if you don't get approved for a conventional loan within this time frame, then this contract is off. If they deny your loan and they're unable to get it, you won't be obligated to buy this property. That's to protect you. If I would have checked this top box that says cash, there's no finance contingency, meaning you have to close on that date so long as everything else in the contract was met. So they don't want to hear you don't have the money or you don't have enough. They'll go after the deposit in that event. But because we check this, no loan, no deal.
Okay. So the pre-approval is just for right now, but they definitely have to go back and get approved.
Yeah, the pre-approval is just so far we like what we see. We'll go ahead and offer them this loan. But once you find a property, they're going to spend another month doing an underwriting service where they look deeply into the buyer's credentials, their credit, their bank accounts, they verify their employment, then they look at the property, and at the property, they're gonna do an appraisal. They wanna make sure you're able to get insurance. So it's just, there's a lot they have to do before they agree and give you that money. So this says they have to give us a final approval within 30 days. Otherwise, we can't buy this house.
Okay.
All right, so if you would have checked cash, and they were trying to use a loan and the loan was denied, they would still be obligated to buy that property. They would have to figure it out.
Okay.
So that's why this is a really important one to call out. Going down to the next thing we did, I just tell them this outlines, so you have an idea of what you could expect to pay at closing, but this won't tell you exactly what your closing costs will be. We can't just sit here and calculate this. Again, if you want an estimate on what your closing costs could be, either ask your lender or the title company. You as a realtor, you would be able to send a title company a contract and say, hey, could you send me like an estimate on their closing costs? And they'll do it.
Okay.
All right, go on down to the next thing. Right here, I just check off, we check this one because it basically just says if the seller already has their title policy from when they bought the property, they can bring it to the title company and we won't have to purchase a new one. The title policy is what they put to ensure the title saying it's free and clear and no one's gonna come and make a claim on it. If someone does come make a claim on it, like they find out there was a lien on it that the buyer didn't know about, the title policy would pay to rectify that issue.
Okay.
All right. The thing to note though is if it's a short sale, you have to check this one. You have to check the one that says seller shall designate closing agent. because whoever is doing the short sale, they have to do the closing. And the seller would have hired whoever's doing the short sale. So if it's a short sale, you gotta check off this one. Seller shall designate closing agent. All right.
All right.
You checked off NA right here because it says no one is responsible or obligated to purchase a home warranty. A home warranty is just like a car warranty, where if your AC breaks, if the refrigerator breaks, the home warranty will kick in and replace it or fix it. So no one, that's not a requirement. That's if you want to, you can get it. Right here under special assessments, you checked off seller shall pay in full, because if there is a special assessment now or plan to come up, we want the seller to, out of their closing proceeds, pay that off so we can move in and not have to worry about it. We don't want something else coming in and affecting our pre-approval because it'll go against our debt to income. It'll be one extra bill. So we want to make sure to avoid that by having the seller pay it. The other option would mean the seller pays it up to closing and the buyer pays it after closing, which is what we don't want. All right, this just kind of lets you know the certain hazards and dangers that are out there. It's not saying that property has these things. It's just saying when you do your inspection, you may want to look out for these known factors. Okay, right here is the biggest thing that they may ask the most questions on. They want to know, well, how long do I have to get my money back? How long do I have to do inspection? When am I locked in? The proper number 12, property inspection right to cancel. You always say, you just direct them to number 12. So if you look at the contract, just go to section 12 and you can read that section and it should explain it to you. If you need further reiteration to it though, I'd have your lawyer look it over because it's pretty clear. You have 7 days. You just tell them, I put in 7 days for us to, look around and cancel the contract for any reason. You can say, you know what, I don't even like the color of these walls and cancel, and no one can say yes or no, as long as you're within this time. And if they ask, why didn't you put 15? It says I can do 15, because if it's too much time, the sellers get uncomfortable and they won't accept it. So you want to be aggressive and, assertive compared to the other offers who are probably out there doing 3 or 2. Cash buyers out there that are looking to flip these properties, they're doing it with no inspection. They're going to tear it down anyway. I mean, obviously, if it's a renovated unit, you're not going to say that, but you get the gist, right?
Yeah. Well, 7 days start once both parties accept it, right?
Yes, exactly. So once it's signed off and executed, that's when the 7 day starts. And these are calendar days, not business days.
Yeah.
All right. This walkthrough inspection, this kind of makes them more comfortable because what it says is the day of or the day before closing, we can walk through the property one more time and make sure it's the same house we agreed to buy a month ago. If we get in there and it burnt down or all the appliances are missing or, everything is trashed, we can call off this deal because this is not what we agreed to buy. Obviously little minor things you wouldn't be able to, but it just says you have that right to make sure it's the same house before you pay your final numbers and close. All right, so then I'll scroll on down. If they ask you a question on these paragraphs, you would literally have to read it with them and kind of say, well, here's how it sounds to me. But again, it's important to note that I'm not a lawyer and I cannot interpret this for you. This was written by the Florida Bar and they want us to be clear that we give you the opportunity to give it to your attorney to look over if you're not comfortable with it.
Okay.
All right, so we just go down to the next thing we did. We're gonna have an actual attorney explain this to us just so we can explain it to them. Oh, right here, you see where it says time?
Yes.
This is where it reiterates that this contract is in calendar days, not business days. You see it right here?
Yeah, I see it.
Calendar days. All right. So that's how you know. Force majeure is basically saying like a force of government. If anything prevents the buyer or seller to legally act on this contract, then the deal would be off. All right. Let's see. We don't need to worry about the closing location. You would really just have to go through this contract. This right here just says the seller must allow us access to do our inspection appraisal. Because if you don't allow us access, how do we do it? How do we fulfill our end of the contract?
Yeah.
All right. And right here, just like a receipt, it's like a checkbox just so you know what addendums you attached, just so you know if something's missing. So if you see something checked off here, but you don't see it, it's missing. You know to ask for it.
Yeah.
Additional terms, this is where you're going to put anything specific or anything crazy, whatever the buyer wants to ask for it. Sky's the limit what you can put here. As long as it's legal, you can put it. This just verifies who the agents are. This is the buyer's agent. This is the listing agent. This rider right here is important because it just lets you know that though we have a contract, it is contingent on you getting a loan, but it's also contingent on the association approving you. If everything goes fine with the loan, but the association denies you, there's no way you can move in. So if there's no way you can move in, we can't bind you to buy this house. So this would release you from this contract. All right. So right here, this just says the association approval is required. So now everyone knows if the association doesn't approve us, we can't do it. Right here, buyer being approved no later than blank days prior to closing. I like to put 1 day here just because sometimes they take all 30 days and they come in like the last minute. So I like to have that approval in like the day of closing if possible, or the day before, if that's the latest they can do it. Because I don't like to, it's just one extra thing you got to do an extension for. Right here, this one says within 5 days of everyone accepting the contract, you have 5 days to submit the association application to be worked on. If you don't submit it on time, they can say you're in breach of contract because you turned that in late and that delayed everything else. Get it? So for me, it's just easier to put the same time frame on everything, the same days for inspection, escrow, and association. So I just know on day 5, do everything.
Okay.
All right.
And
so
this
right
form,
here,
that form they're supposed to give you, right? That's the.
You asked for it, yeah. And in this document, you're asking for it.
Okay.
So right here, the right of first refusal, this is saying the association has the right of first refusal. And what that is they did it to me once. If you're trying to sell a property in an association, and let's just say your price is significantly under market value, the board can come together and say, absolutely not. We are not having our values go down that low. We will buy this property at that price and we will control it if you just want to give it away like that. Both realtors will still get their commission though, but the buyer gets nothing. They just get their escrow deposit back.
Okay.
And another thing is if they exercise their right, they can't change any contract terms. They have to close the contract the way it's intended.
All right.
All right, so it doesn't affect you much. It's just not. I mean, it's kind of a plus because now you got to sell that buyer something else, and you still got this commission. You know. Yeah. So right here it says it again. Within 5 days, submit the thing. But most applications, it's important to look at them yourself because sometimes they'll have spots for the buyer and the seller to sign. If you just get it and give it to your buyer, they'll just fill it out and turn it in. And then a week later, the association will call you and say, hey, this is missing seller signatures. And now you got to start over. So just look at it yourself if you can.
So change all those dates to 1 day, right?
Like whatever you put for inspection, I put for the rest of them.
Okay.
Yeah, I just match it up. It's just less because if you have multiple contracts, it's hard to keep up with all of that. Okay. All right. Right here, this is just where we're confirming the association fee so they can't say you didn't tell them. So this is, you just say right here, I just wanted to verify the association fee is $317 a month. That's what they told me. They're going to have to sign off on this. If this is wrong, they'll cross it out, update it, and send it back to you.
And you have to confirm with your client, make sure they're okay with
that. They're okay with it, right? Right here, it reiterates again, if there's a special assessment, the seller has to pay it. And then this is what you were asking for. This agreement is voidable by the buyer receiving. This is basically saying we are requesting a copy of the condo rules and regulations or the guidelines. It's like a thick book that outlines everything you can and can't do with your unit. The buyer gets 3 days to review it. And if they don't like it, they can cancel.
Okay.
From the day they received it.
So
this
they usually
isn't the association application though. This is different.
So this is, so they, I know for, I believe 5300 Washington Street, they post it online, right? On the attachments in the MLS. So is that good enough or do I need a specific physical one from them instead of just printing one out off of the MLS?
Well, no, so if they uploaded it and it is indeed the condo docs and rules and regulations, then yeah, you would just check off this one indicating we did get it. But if it's just the application, like fill this out and turn it in, you still need this because this is just going to outline everything you can and can't do with your unit, even like parking restrictions and pet restrictions, things like that.
Okay.
All right. Right here, you're outlining and you're making it clear that we know that they have 2 parking spaces. If there's more, they'll cross it out and let us know. But as of now, we know that there's 2. Once your buyer receives the condo documents though, because remember, if you check here that you're requesting them, once they receive them, you got to come back and check this off, put the date, and then have them initial it again and send it back. Like this, you're going to review this document twice. All right, and that's it. The same with so if you had a lead-based paint addendum on here, you would just explain it as, we're not saying it has lead-based paint, we're just letting you know that this property is built before 1978. And in that era, they were using lead-based paint. So you may want to have your inspector pay special attention if you want. The risk is just don't let your kids ingest it because it causes neurological disorders. The 55 or older community is just, we're just disclosing to you that one person in the property has to be 55 or older. They may also have a minimum age. Some of these communities don't allow people under 18 to move in, but the condo docs will tell you that. So let's just say someone's over 55, but they have someone under 18 in their family. They may read the condo docs and say, oh, wait, no one under 18, and they can call off the deal for that.
Okay. One question about the inspection. I know that we are supposed to set up the inspection, right?
Yeah, well, we're not gonna like pick the inspector and do it for them. What I normally do is I ask, do you already have an inspector, or do you need me to refer some to you? And I'll send them about 2 or 3 options and let them pick. Just because if the inspector sucks or something goes wrong, you don't want them to say your inspector did it. So give them like 2 or 3 options that you're comfortable with. And you could like even give them like, all right, so this guy's the most thorough, but he's the most expensive. This guy's the cheapest. This guy, whatever. And you're gonna say, call them, set it up, and let me know what dates they have available. And then your buyer's gonna say, well, they said they can do it this day or this day. And then you call the listing agent and set it up. If it's vacant, then as long as it's okay with you. Yeah, so because they're gonna be the ones paying for it. You're not paying for it. So you have them set up their own inspection. Just give them the 3 and say, call these 3 and pick the one you like best. Let me know when to set it, when to request.
And we have to be there for inspection.
Because you would have to let the inspector in, yeah.
Okay.
They usually take about 2 hours. I would say 2 hours is the average inspection.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
All right, so I guess moving on, the other thing I just wanted to go over with you was just the next step in your online marketing. I think you should incorporate like having some type of like product, whether the product be, I think your product should be like a consultation. You should develop like a new buyer or a new seller consultation. So that way you have something to push people towards. Like once they see, okay, he's out there, I see he's a realtor, I see he's working, how do I work with him? This is step 1, because no one really knows what step 1 is. It's for the new people.
Okay.
So I think you should probably set up like a link tree or get a link in bio, and then find a way to like, I guess, get like a calendar manager where people can just go on and just click the link in your bio and request a Zoom consultation or in-person consultation, whatever you want. And then I'll show you how to do consultation. So for buyers, you're going to show them, so here's the steps. Here's how you start. We're going to get you with a lender. The lender's going to talk to you. You're going to need anywhere from this much to this much down. Like you're just basically sitting down with them and explaining the steps. And people love that. If they're a seller, you sit down. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to value the property. Here's how we're going to show it. Are you able to vacate? Like that's a consultation. So I think that would be the next step. But until you can set up your consultations, then I think when you do your post, you should add writing, and then it'll be like a call to action. So it'll be DM me to request a showing, right? Something like that. DM me if you're looking for a property, something like that. And then the last thing I would say is see if you could like have a personal website made where you could just put all your things you have going on in one place and spend all your time sending the people to this website, and the website kind of gets them in the door for you. It'll have like a intake sheet, like you'll click, it'll be like click here to set up a buyer consultation, click here to set up a seller consultation. Are you looking to rent? And then it'll be an intake form, like how many people, do you have any pets? Like, have you seen the one on our website?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah, so you could have something like that made for yourself. So when you're doing this, it all full circle. So your content, the call to action that pushes them, they click your link, they fill it in. Now you have them as a client. You reach out to them and invite them for a consultation, a buyer consultation or a seller consultation. If they're looking to rent, there's no need for a consultation. Just give them an intake sheet and say, what are you looking for? And send them a list. Let's do it. But this is how you get the better team of clients, because now you have something to offer them. Because they're not all ready to start looking right now, but they want to at least take the first step to get in the door.
Yeah.
So tomorrow when we talk to the lenders, I guess they'll help you understand the pre-approval process, and then you can reiterate that in your new buyer consultation. Because you're gonna send your new buyers to the lenders to get pre-approved or not, and then they'll send them back.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
That
man.
sounds good.
All right. Love it. Any questions on anything before I go?
No, not really. You covered everything.
Love it. All right, cool. Well, I will see you tomorrow. And just call me again if you need anything today.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, of course, man. Take care.
All right, you too. Have a good one.